Every afternoon at 4:17, right after the school bus sighed to a stop and the doors folded open, Lily Marston hopped down the steps like her shoes were powered by springs. She was 8 years old, all elbows and ponytail, with the kind of focus kids get when they've decided something is their mission. Her mission lived at the far end of their backyard. The Marstons' house sat on the edge of a quiet cul-de-sac in Cedar Ridge, backed by a long strip of unmanaged greenbelt, tall grass, brambles, and a thin line of trees that separated the neighborhood from the older rural road behind it. Their fence was a weathered wooden one, and in one corner near the bushes, one fence board had a knothole the size of a coin. That knothole was the entire reason Lily had started doing what she did. 2 weeks earlier, she'd been outside with her dad, Gavin, while he grilled. Lily had been dragging a stick through the dirt when she noticed movement at the fence line, something small and brown and fast. She'd crouched and stared. A rabbit, not a cartoon bunny, a real one, wild, lean, ears tall, eyes black and glossy like marbles. It had paused in the brush on the other side of the fence, sniffing, then vanished like it had never existed. Lily had stayed crouched long after it disappeared. Then she'd done what kids do when they discover something magical and fragile. She tried to make it come back. The next day she came home from school and walked straight into the kitchen like a tiny burglar with a plan. She opened the fridge, pulled out a bag of baby carrots, and announced, "I'm feeding my rabbit." Her mum, Nora, had blinked. "Your what?" "My rabbit," Lily said, as if the sentence explained itself. "The one in the bushes." Gavin had laughed. "Sweetie, it's not your rabbit, it's a wild rabbit." Lily had narrowed her eyes like she was listening, but not accepting. "It can be my friend." Nora started to say something about not feeding wildlife, but then she saw Lily's face. Hopeful, determined, tender. The kind of face you don't want to crush unless you must. So they compromised. Lily could leave carrots by the fence, but she couldn't climb through the bushes, couldn't reach her hands through gaps, couldn't try to touch anything, and her parents would watch. The first day Lily left 3 carrots on the ground by the knothole and waited like a statue. Nothing happened. The second day she left 3 carrots again. Still nothing. On the third day she went out, placed the carrots, and sat with her knees hugged to her chest, staring at the bushes like she could summon a rabbit with willpower. Gavin watched from the porch, smiling, convinced this would be a cute phase that ended when Lily got bored. Then the bushes moved. A brown nose appeared, then whiskers, then a rabbit's face, cautious and tight with fear. It didn't hop right out. It waited, smelling the air, watching Lily, watching the yard, watching the world like everything was a potential threat. Lily's whole body went still. She didn't squeal. She didn't run forward. She just whispered, "Hi." The rabbit hopped out, slow and deliberate, and grabbed a carrot in its mouth. It didn't sit to nibble. It turned and vanished back into the brush immediately, carrot sticking out like a prize. Lily practically vibrated with pride. "Dad!" she hissed, like shouting would break reality. "It took it." Gavin stared, eyebrows raised. "Well, I'll be." From that day on, Lily left carrots by the fence every afternoon. 3 carrots became 2, 2 became 1. Sometimes she added a slice of apple until Nora stopped that quickly because she'd read enough to know sugar wasn't great for wild rabbits and could attract other animals. Lily kept it simple, carrots only, and the carrots kept disappearing, not always in front of her. Sometimes she'd place them, go inside to wash her hands, and when she came back out they'd be gone. Sometimes she'd see a flash of movement and the rabbit would snatch one and disappear like a tiny thief. The routine became part of Lily's day like brushing teeth. And then, gradually, something changed. One afternoon, Lily came home with a bruise on her knee and tears on her cheeks. She'd fallen at recess and kids had laughed. Gavin noticed immediately, crouching to her level. "You okay, Lil?" Lily nodded fast, wiping her face. "I'm fine." But she wasn't. She went to the fence with her carrots and placed them down, then sat on the grass and stared at the bushes with that same fierce stillness. The rabbit appeared sooner than usual. It paused in the brush, head angled, as if it was listening. Then it hopped out farther than it ever had before. It didn't just snatch and run. It took a carrot, held it between its paws, and began nibbling right there, still tense, still ready to bolt, but present. Lily's breath caught. She whispered, "See, I'm nice." From the porch, Nora watched with a quiet, uncomfortable thought. The rabbit was getting used to them. It was sweet. It was also risky. But then Lily's rabbit friend became something the whole family quietly accepted, part of their backyard story, until the day everything stopped being cute. It happened on a Thursday when the air felt warmer than it should for the season. Lily came home, dropped her backpack, and ran straight to the kitchen for carrots. Nora was on a work call, gesturing 1 second. Lily nodded solemnly like she understood adult busyness, then took her carrots outside. Gavin was in the garage, tinkering with a shelf. Lily reached the fence corner and froze. The carrots from yesterday, she always cleaned up extras, were still there. Not missing. Not nibbled. Just lying on the ground like they'd never been touched. Lily frowned. Her rabbit never ignored carrots. She placed her new carrot down beside them and waited, arms wrapped around her knees, eyes glued to the bushes. Minutes passed. Nothing moved, no whiskers, no ears, no cautious little hop. The bushes remained still. Lily's frown deepened. She stood and leaned closer to the fence, peering through the knothole. "Hello," she whispered. "Bunny?" Still nothing. Then she heard something else, not the light rustle of an animal, a heavier sound, like a foot shifting on dry leaves. Lily's head snapped up. The bushes on the other side of the fence, thicker, darker, moved. Not in the quick, twitchy way of a rabbit, in the slow, deliberate way of something large. Lily took a step back, suddenly unsure. The branches parted, and someone stepped out. A person. A tall figure in a dark hoodie, face partially shadowed by leaves and the hood brim, emerging from the green belt behind their fence like they'd been waiting there. Lily's heart slammed into her throat. For a second, she couldn't move. The stranger looked directly at her, and Lily realized, in a cold burst of clarity, this wasn't the rabbit. This was someone who had been watching her. Lily's first instinct was to run. Her second instinct, stupid, brave, 8 years old, was to stand still and try to figure out if she was in trouble. The person stopped just behind the fence line, still separated from Lily by wood planks and a narrow strip of brush. He didn't climb. He didn't charge. He just stood there like he'd walked out of the bushes because he finally decided it was time. Lily's voice came out thin. "Who are you?" The stranger raised one hand, palm out, as if to show he wasn't holding anything. "Hey," he said. His voice was rough, not loud, but it carried. "Don't be scared." Lily's stomach clenched. She backed away 2 more steps until her heel bumped the fence board. "Where's the bunny?" she blurted, because her brain was trying to shove the fear into something familiar. The man glanced down at the carrots on the ground, then back at Lily. I saw you leaving those," he said. Lily's skin prickled. "You saw me?" He nodded. "Yeah." Lily's hands curled into fists. "Why?" The man shifted his weight again, and Lily noticed something that made her confusion spike. He looked tired. Not scary movie tired. Real life tired. Dirt on his jeans, scratches on his hands, a face that looked like it hadn't slept properly. He swallowed and said something that made Lily's blood go cold. "Lily!" Her name. She didn't tell him her name. She hadn't said it. Lily's voice cracked. "How do you know my name?" The man's eyes flicked toward the house, then back to her. His expression tightened, as if he knew he'd made a mistake. "Your mom calls you," he said quickly. "Sometimes, when you're outside." Lily's heart pounded so hard it made her ears ring. He'd been close enough to hear her mom. Close enough to listen, close enough to know her routine. "Go away," Lily said, and her voice sounded braver than she felt. The man lifted his hand again. "I'm not here to hurt you." That sentence didn't make her feel better. It made her feel worse. Because people who weren't dangerous didn't usually have to announce it. Lily turned and sprinted toward the house, shoes slapping the grass, lungs burning. "Dad!" she screamed. "Dad!" Gavin was out of the garage in an instant, wrench still in his hand. "What? Lily!" he shouted, catching her as she ran into him. "What happened?" She pointed wildly back toward the fence. "There's a man! In the bushes!" Gavin's face changed like a switch flipped. He scooped Lily behind him and moved fast across the yard, eyes scanning. Nora burst out onto the porch, phone still in hand. "What's going on?" Gavin didn't answer. He was already moving. When he reached the fence corner, he stopped, chest rising and falling hard, because the bushes had moved again. And the man was still there. Now he was standing more openly, hands visible, but still behind the fence line like he understood boundaries, or like he was using the fence as protection. Gavin's voice went low and sharp. "Hey, who the hell are you?" The man flinched slightly. "I'm not trying to—" Gavin stepped closer, placing himself between the man and the corner where Lily had been sitting. His posture was protective in a way that made the air crackle. "You need to leave," Gavin said. "Right now." Nora came up behind him, eyes wide, pulling Lily close against her side. "Gavin," she whispered, "call 911. Gavin didn't take his eyes off the man. "You heard her." The man's jaw tightened. He glanced toward the tree line behind him as if calculating his exit. Then he said, fast, almost desperate, "Your rabbit's hurt." Gavin's brow furrowed. "What?" The man nodded toward the brush. "The rabbit, the one she feeds, he swallowed. "It's stuck." Nora's grip on Lily tightened. "You've been watching our daughter feed an animal." The man's shoulders sagged slightly. "I didn't. At first I see it back here. I walk the greenbelt. Gavin's voice cut through him. "Why were you hiding in the bushes behind my fence?" The man's eyes flickered. "Because I didn't want to scare anyone." Gavin laughed once, harsh and disbelieving. Mission failed. Lily pressed her face into her mum's shirt, peeking with one eye like she needed to see and not see at the same time. The man looked directly at Gavin now. "I'm telling the truth," he said. "The rabbit's caught in something. I tried to get it out. It's panicking." Gavin's instincts were split in two: protect his family and respond to the animal his daughter had been feeding daily. Nora's voice was tight. "We are not going back there with you." The man nodded quickly. "I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to call someone." Gavin held his stare. "Why didn't you call someone?" The man hesitated, and that hesitation was exactly what made Gavin's tone harden. "Because you don't have a phone," Gavin said, half question, half accusation. The man's eyes dropped. Nora's face went pale. Gavin's stomach turned because now the story was getting bigger than a rabbit. The man lifted his gaze again, and his voice came out low. "I don't want trouble," Gavin snapped. "Then you shouldn't be hiding behind my house." The stranger flinched, then stepped backward into the brush as if he'd decided he'd already said too much. "Wait," Lily blurted, surprising everyone, including herself. All heads turned. Lily pointed toward the carrots. "Did you see my bunny?" The man looked at Lily, and for the first time his expression softened in a way that looked genuinely human. "Yes," he said quietly. "It's small. Brown. It comes here every day." Lily's voice shook. "Is it okay?" The man swallowed. "Not right now." Gavin's jaw clenched. "Nora, inside. Lock the door. Call 911. Lily stays with you." Nora didn't argue. Gavin kept his eyes on the brush where the man had retreated. The stranger was still there, visible only as a shadowy figure behind leaves. Gavin raised his voice, firm. You step out where I can see you. Right now. Hands visible. The leaves parted and the man stepped out again. Not closer to the fence, just visible. And that's when Gavin saw something that made his stomach drop even further. The man's hands were scratched raw, like he'd been clawing through brambles or wire, and on one finger, a fresh cut was still bleeding slowly. Gavin's mind raced. Wire fence, trap, snare. Something caught the rabbit, and someone, this stranger, had been trying to free it. But why had he been in their greenbelt in the first place? And why did he seem so afraid of being seen? The siren sounded in the distance then, police responding fast, because a call about a stranger behind a child's fence was not something they took casually. The man heard it too. His eyes widened. He looked panicked now, like an animal caught in headlights. "I need to go," he said. Gavin's voice went iron. "No, you're staying right there." The man backed into the brush again. Gavin's heart jumped. "Hey!" The stranger vanished into the trees. And for the first time, Lily noticed something else, something her fear had hidden from her. Near the fence corner, in the weeds, there was a thin, nearly invisible line, like fishing wire, pulled taut. A snare, and it was angled toward the bushes, toward where her rabbit always came from. The police arrived with 2 cruisers and a third vehicle that looked like a park ranger truck. Officers spread quickly, flashlights out even in daylight, scanning the tree line behind the houses. Gavin met them at the gate, voice tight, explaining everything in short, sharp sentences. His daughter's routine, the stranger in the bushes, the mention of the rabbit being stuck, the man fleeing when sirens approached. Officer Marin Blake listened, eyes narrowed, then glanced at the fence corner. "You said you saw a line?" she asked. Gavin pointed. Blake crouched near the weeds and immediately went still. "That's not fishing line," she said. She pulled out gloves and carefully traced the thin wire with her eyes. "It's a snare," she confirmed. Nora came onto the porch, Lily glued to her side, both of them pale. Lily's voice came out tiny. "Did someone hurt my bunny?" Blake looked up at Lily and softened her tone. "We're going to check, okay? But you did the right thing telling your parents." Another officer, Ramos, moved along the fence line, following the wire toward the bushes. He held his flashlight low, even though it was daytime, using the angle to catch the glint of metal. "It goes into the greenbelt," Ramos said. Blake's jaw tightened. "Then we're going in." A ranger named Ken Willis joined them, his uniform more suited for woods than street. "I know this easement," Ken said. "There's an old access trail behind the tree line. People shouldn't be setting snares here." Gavin's voice shook with anger. Who would do that so close to houses? Ken's expression was grim. "People who think nobody's watching." Blake motioned for Nora and Lily to stay back. "Ma'am, keep your daughter inside. Lock doors. We'll handle the search." Nora nodded fast and pulled Lily back toward the door, but Lily kept craning her neck. "I just wanted to feed it," Lily whispered, eyes shining with tears. Nora hugged her tightly. "I know, baby. I know." The officers and ranger entered the greenbelt through a gap in the fence line farther down, moving carefully. Gavin wanted to follow, but Blake stopped him with a firm look. "I understand," she said, "but we need you here." Gavin nodded, fists clenched. From the yard, he could see flashes of movement through the trees, uniforms weaving, sunlight slicing through branches. Then a shout cut through the quiet. "Over here!" Gavin's heart dropped. Nora's hand flew to her mouth. Blake's voice carried back, urgent. "We've got an animal!" Gavin stepped closer to the fence but didn't cross. He watched as the ranger and an officer knelt in a patch of brush. Their bodies blocked the view. Then they stood, and Gavin saw what they were holding. A rabbit. Small, brown, trembling violently, one back leg caught in a wire loop. It kicked weakly, panicked but exhausted, eyes wide. Lily let out a strangled sob. "Bunny!" Nora pulled her back, but Lily clung to the porch railing like she could will the rabbit to safety. The ranger worked quickly with wire cutters, careful not to worsen the injury. The rabbit's leg had a raw groove from struggling, but it was still alive. Blake called out, "We need animal control here, ASAP." The rabbit was the thing Lily's heart cared about most, but the officers weren't focused only on the rabbit anymore, because near the snare, half hidden under leaves, was another loop. Then another. A line of them. A trap line. Ken's voice went low. "This isn't one snare. This is a setup." Blake's face hardened. "We've got illegal trapping." In a residential greenbelt, Ramos scanned the ground, following footprints in the soft dirt. Someone's been walking this trail regularly. Blake's eyes narrowed, and someone knew where to place them. Gavin's mind flashed back to the stranger's scratched hands. He hadn't just been watching, he'd been in those bushes doing something. Maybe trying to free the rabbit, maybe checking the snares, maybe both. The rabbit was placed gently into a ventilated carrier by the time animal control arrived. The officer promised they'd transport it to a wildlife rehab. Lily cried quietly into her mum's shoulder. "I wanted it to be safe," she whispered. Nora's voice broke. "You did help it. You helped us notice." Gavin stared at the tree line, stomach tight. "What about the man?" Blake's eyes were scanning the woods. "We're looking, but he had a head start." Ken approached Blake, holding something in a gloved hand, a cheap plastic zip tie and a small pack wrapper. "Fresh," Ken said quietly. "Someone was here today." Blake nodded. "We'll run patrols and request any neighbor camera footage that faces the Greenbelt access points." Gavin's gaze fixed on the bushes where Lily had first seen the stranger. There was a moment, brief, almost unreal, when the leaves moved and Gavin thought he saw a shape deeper in the greenbelt. A hood, a shoulder, then nothing. Lily's carrot still sat by the fence, untouched, like a child's offering to a world that didn't deserve it. That night, the neighborhood group chat lit up with warnings. Lock your gates, watch your kids, call police if you see anyone near the greenbelt. But inside the Marston house, the story became something else. It became the day Lily learned that kindness could draw out the best in the world, and sometimes reveal the worst. Because she hadn't just been leaving carrots for a rabbit, she'd been creating a routine, a predictable pattern, and someone, human, had noticed. The good news was, the rabbit was alive and would likely recover. The terrifying part was what came with it. Those bushes behind the fence weren't just hiding animals. They were hiding a person bold enough to set traps behind family homes, and patient enough to watch a little girl leave carrots every day, waiting for the day he could step out when